Thao, why don't you tell us, we covered this earlier, but why don't you tell us what you have found to be the biggest barrier that people face when attempting to get into tech from a who don't look like Mark Zuckerberg?
I think I can speak from experience. I just experienced this yesterday. And so being that I am a solutions engineer, I can code, I can speak to code, I can also sell, right? And someone thought that I was the account executive on the call. So there's a lot of, in terms of barriers, there's like the physical barrier. You don't look the part, you don't act the part, you don't sound the part. I live in Oakland. I've always lived in Oakland since I've moved to the Bay Area. I'm from Atlanta. And like my experience as a human being, it doesn't match the archetype of your standard tech persona. Not only that, I didn't major in computer science. I majored in biology. I went to Hackbright 5 years ago or 6 years ago. And I think the barriers are the physical barrier, the financial barrier. Can one afford to attend these boot camps? Can one afford to take time off to learn how to code? And then alongside that, just culture, right? Like, not all of us are gamers. Not all of us, grew up on comic books. Not all of us, had the time to explore tinkering and how to build things. I mean, I did, but I'm just saying, like, just knowing from my own experiences and seeing my peers, that opportunity didn't exist, right? So there's that. There's the privilege and the access of even having what that mental model would look like for someone who's interested in tech. So I think, to summarize, there's the physical barrier, there's the financial barrier to joining tech or starting a career in tech, and then lastly, the cultural barrier.
100%.
Yeah.
I did have the classic coder dude upbringing to a certain extent, in that because I was obsessed with Star Trek. So even though I grew up in the 80s where computers were rare, every time I saw one, it was like magnet. Like, anytime I could get my hands on one, I was like deep down in it. I mean, I built my first computer from broken computer parts when I was like 13 because I miraculously had access to broken computer parts. But I took advantage of those opportunities. But at the same time, because I was coming up in Texas and I look like I got so much social pushback, that cultural factor, even though I did have from a very young age this very strong interest, even though I had put in the time and the effort to have these skill sets. Nobody wanted to engage with me. Nobody wanted to talk to me. Everybody wanted me to get in the kitchen and make them a sandwich. Like, it was not cool. And then I got head down, ended up being paid way too little money for the first decade of my career because I had no idea, I had no perspective because nobody was talking to me. I didn't have friends in the industry to give me that perspective. And then when I finally did meet the community around tech and start to like fix my professional trajectory, I met that cultural barrier again at conferences where people kept assuming that I was a graphic designer or I was in sales or I was in recruiting, literally anything other than writing code. And I do actually feel that I lucked out because I did meet a small handful of people that didn't treat me that way. And I'm not sure what my professional path would have been if I hadn't met a very small handful of people that were incredibly welcoming, that were ready to embrace me and my weird and validate me. Like, I feel incredibly lucky that I met that small handful of people. And it actually scares me a little bit because I am aware of how much privilege and how much luck went into my success and how unusual those things are. That's why I'm all about breaking down the barriers, because if it was this hard for me with my big old buckets of privilege and luck, then how impossible is it for so many other people that could be doing amazing stuff in the technology industry and bringing such profoundly valuable insights and perspective if we would just let them in the door? Which is why we're here today. raising money for Girls Who Code and the Malala Fund, and also trying to promote Twilio Quest as, and you're right, not everybody is a gamer. Twilio Quest isn't going to be the right avenue to learning for everybody, but it is a avenue for learning. And if you do resonate with video games or even just gamification, if you find it approachable, even if you find it silly and that's what appeals to you, then I want to make sure that it is full of the education that is going to benefit you. So if you are watching the stream and you've checked out Twilio Quest and it doesn't contain the technical education that you were looking for, let us know. And we will attempt to expand Twilio Quest both with our tiny team and by attempting to outsource that development to our amazing community of technologists who are also similarly invested in breaking down those barriers and bringing more people into tech, because these days, everything is tech, and that means tech is for everybody.